New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev Briz and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And hello again, dear ones. Reverend Robert with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
And this is Ministers Talking Shit. It is the last day of May 31st. There it went. The month is over, and we're into June. And I guess there's no burying the lead here. You know, I lament often, Z, that some of the best news happens after we get off the air on Friday mornings. This week, the big story happened before we got on the air on Friday morning. If you haven't turned on any media since yesterday afternoon, folks, let us be the first to tell you, former President Donald Trump was convicted of 34 felony counts yesterday, convicted on all counts. MoveOn.org sent me an email immediately offering me a free Donald in prison sticker or convicted felon sticker or something like that. And if MoveOn.org's giving you away something for free, there's a rift in the universe, and that happened. I mean, they still ask for a donation, but they actually are sending a sticker for free. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So, you know, I've heard people use phrases like, and there is joy throughout the land, and justice has finally been served, and the level, you spoke about this in our pre-show, Z, and I want you to talk about it again, but the level of hate for this man is like, oh my God, there's more hate erupting throughout America today than there is lava erupting in Iceland. We can talk
and there's
about
plenty of lava. There's plenty of lava in Iceland too. And you know,
in Iceland.
I'll take the first subject first. You know, it's I sat there when I was sitting there at my desk working at about, I don't know, it was around 4 something in the afternoon here in Mountain Time. And the thing came out that, you know, the jury was coming back, and they sat there and they read it off, you know, and they found him guilty on all 34 counts. And then he did his little speech and he went back. And I was sitting there afterwards looking at all of the proverbial Monday morning quarterback, and I'm like, why do we continue to use insinuatory languages to exacerbate the already very palatable tension of dislike on one side or the other for this whole situation? It just, you know, we create these situations. Now, everybody was being the Monday morning pundit, right? You know, how is it going to affect the election? And you know, what's going to happen now? We got the other 3 trials, which some say were more valid than this trial, right? The thing down in Georgia where he called the Secretary of State and said, "Hey, I need you to find some votes." But the next couple of weeks obviously into the months will be telling, because the polls that I'm seeing shown on the newscast, very few people are moving away from him that already votes for him.
Right.
He will definitely use this as a continued storyline to say, look, they are against me. I'm for the people, and the establishment is against me. You need to vote for me, or it's going to get worse. I'm the man, and it will. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of game left to be played, if you will. So this is just the first few minutes of the first quarter,
Right.
and I'm 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 hoping, if nothing else, right, that this gives everyone on left, right, or center the opportunity to sit down and really evaluate where are we as a country in terms of having a system that is supported of all people, and what is my part to play? How am I playing, and how am I making it worse by doing whatever I'm doing, or making it better by doing whatever I'm doing?
Yeah. I saw a video. It was only a 12-second clip. And I can't find it again, or I'd show it to you folks. If you didn't know the context, and it's a huge bar, somebody's in the balcony filming. It's a huge bar downstairs, and there's a giant TV screen behind the bar. And if you didn't know the context and you couldn't see who was on the screen, you would think that this city just won the Super Bowl, the World Series, the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, and even women's rugby championships or something, like all at the same time, because they read the verdict and this entire bar started jumping up and down and throwing their drinks in the air and screaming and yelling and pumping their fists, and it looked more like a riot. And it struck me as well. I mean, I get it. There are a lot of people that don't believe this man has done any good for this country whatsoever, and there's a lot of people, I think, that are incredibly frustrated that he keeps seeming to get away with things and shove it in our faces, where a normal person would be going to prison for this, if only for a year or two, to give them time to contemplate. If you and I paid hush money to keep someone quiet and we were found guilty, we'd go to jail for a while.
And the thing here, because I've heard, and I need to go and follow up. I've heard that there's no crime to pay hush money. The thing that he did was try to cover it up by making it look like it was a business expense.
Yes.
And that's what happened there. And I agree with you. I mean, people celebrating and partying, I mean, okay, I get it. But really, I mean, we're gonna, something that could be a time bomb in our society, you're gonna celebrate that.
Right. So
in that fashion.
So it's kind of, are we playing right into his hand? Did we just play right into his hand? And because I got no question, the man knows all the cons, so he must know a few that I don't know. I'm sure he knows a few cons that I don't know. I thought I knew most of them, but did the American public play into his hand and give him now even more ammunition, more fodder, more reason to continue his tirades? And
what's going to be interesting is this first debate in July. I think it's July 27th or something like that. So we're talking about, just about 2 months away.
And the verdict will have been read at that point,
It
because
will be very, yes, yes. And, there's a good indication that uh, he gets off with a probation and a fine. I would not want to be the judge who has to make the decision on what the sentencing is.
right.
Because from what I understand, for each one of those felony counts, there is, I think you can get from 4 to 20 years on each or something like that.
Right.
I'm thinking that's his life. Even if he got 4 counts on 34, 4 years on 34,
Hey, even if he got
he would pass away in prison.
Even if he got 1 year on on each of 34.
Right.
He most likely would die in prison.
And so now they've I mean, this is how idiocy this is. Now they're beginning to have the question, if he goes to prison because he's a former president, he still needs Secret Service protection. So now they got to figure out how to get Secret Service in the prison when he's there to protect him. I mean, we're on a slippery slope here right now.
He's going to sell Mar-a-Lago to the Fed, and they're going to turn it into a private prison.
That's what they're looking at.
See, and that's the twist to me. That is the twisted piece of all of this, is regardless of what happens, we will be paying this man's way for the rest of his life. In some regard, the American taxpayer is going to end up footing the bill for for the rest of Donald Trump's life. And to me, that's a shame. That pains my heart to have to say that, because they're not going to lock him up with your average Rikers Island folk.
No, he will, and theoretically, the sentence, because it was in New York, would be served at least at some point in Rikers Island, right? Although Rikers Island is jail, so
this is a New York State. It's a New York State case, so it would be a New York State prison. It wouldn't be federal prison. It'd be a New York State prison. But I don't think they're going to. I highly, highly doubt that that this judge will come back with a prison sentence. We are not going to see Donald Trump led out of the courtroom by a bailiff to go to jail. He is going to walk out of the courtroom by the same doors he's been walking out of that courtroom, spewing his hate and his vile for the last month. He'll walk right out the front door like he's been doing, and get in his motorcade and drive away.
And just picture this. Now, I mean, this is how far we've gone down the slope. So if Trump let's say he gets probation, right? Which most of the times with probation, there's limited travel, and you got to check in on all of this stuff with your probation officer and so forth, right? What happens if he becomes president and he has to go to China, which this morning the Lloyd Austin, the defense secretary and China's defense person over in Singapore, trying to avert some kind of an issue. But imagine he had to go to Singapore. Now, does he have to call his parole officer and get clearance and get paperwork to say, okay, yeah, you can go? And well, I can't wait for you to get the paperwork. This is critical. I got to go right now. Air Force One is raiding. I mean, imagine the scenario that this will create.
Sorry, man, your PO's on vacation. We don't know where he is. You know,
And
it would be
oh my
funny.
God,
It
it
would
could
be funny.
be a mess.
Yes. I think it would be funny to watch him have to go through what so many young black men in our country have had to go through when it comes to things like parole officers and house detention. And can you see Donald with an ankle bracelet or with an ankle monitor on? It's and I will say there was a part of me yesterday that thought, well, that's it. He's going to run. He's gonna leave the courthouse. He's gonna get in a motorcade, and he's never gonna be seen again. The guy's gonna run. He's gonna get on a plane and leave by and leave by LaGuardia and be gone before we even know it, and be in another country before we know it, and never. But I think he's too much of an egomaniac to leave, to run.
Yeah, well, yeah, and you talk about, if that would have happened, you talk about a collapse of the. I believe that would be just horrible, because I don't know who had the next delegate votes, right? Maybe
Right.
it was Haley, so she would probably step up as the as a nominee or whatever. But it would get crazy, and we talked earlier. I want to switch gears for a minute. We talked earlier about the volcano. Uh, uh, Folks, if you haven't heard, the volcano in Iceland has erupted for a fifth time in 6 months.
Yep.
So the geothermal plates and stuff going on are definitely moving. There was a report yesterday that in New Delhi in India, in that region, they had the highest temperature recorded ever at 121.8 degrees. And we look at the storms. We got storms in the political arena, but we got storms right here on the real arena of people's lives and people's houses. And I went to see a movie called, and if you can find it, it's an IMAX movie. It's only an hour, Cities of the Future, that talked about how, like, as early as it's 2050, flying cars and planned cities where there's no homelessness, and they've engineered all manner of knowledge to create energy. It was a very eye-opening movie. And when we look at hurricane season starts tomorrow, we have to begin to, whatever political party takes the front, this has to start moving up the scale as to terms of what it means to us. How do we begin to address it? Because the volcanoes in the courtrooms and the volcanoes on the land will cause havoc across this globe.
Right. Yes, hearts and prayers and for the folks of Iceland. And to me, Z, this is another one of those massive issues that, I don't know, sometimes it feels like the American arrogance is, don't worry about it, it'll go away. We don't, and I know there are good people, not only in America, but across the planet, that are doing great work to curb greenhouse emissions, to curb other forms of pollution that are exacerbating the problem. And, well, everywhere we go, it seems systems are changing. And everywhere we look, part of it is that, well, systems change. We live in a fluid world. We live in a fluid universe. We live on a changing planet. So to assume that it's not going to is a problem.
Right. Right.
Luckily, we've got people that are taking a look at it. I every time I see one of the volcano erupting, I think to myself, we got no clue, because when the day comes that Yellowstone decides to erupt again, we're gonna see the exact same images. We're gonna see it even worse. If it's explosive, Denver will be under ash in moments, within minutes.
Mm-hmm.
We won't even know what happened until the ash starts coming down. We won't know what happened until the ash starts coming down. And if it's the beauty of this thing in Iceland is it's away from major population centers. The minor population centers that were in the region have been evacuated. People are safe.
Mm-hmm.
We're watching from a distance. We're getting a chance to witness this. Scientists are getting a chance to study this, and it's not like a Mount St. Helens kind of boom. It's been that slow. Okay, we're building up. Oh, and here it is. So nobody's actually like super surprised, and I think maybe that's why it doesn't make the news, because
Mm-hmm.
there's nobody's life is at risk, and it's not America, so what do we care? And it's a slow rolling kind of tragedy or natural disaster, or just it's a natural occurrence.
Mm-hmm.
Bees are going to be bees and make honey. Mother Earth is going to split her seams occasionally and let some blood flow and let those
Yeah.
inner workings out into the air. And they're fun to watch on video, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I mean, I I think about all of the stuff that our political leaders are squabbling over that have, I won't say they don't have any meaning or effect, but comparatively speaking, they're minuscule. And there are things that we need to address, like uh, the unhoused, right? People that
Yes.
cannot find a place to live. You know, one of the
Yep.
things they talked about in this movie, short movie, only an hour, at IMAX. Check your locations. Just put in cities of the future for IMAX, and you'll see us in a few cities. But the projection is there will be no people that can't find or don't have a place to live. And of course, AI is going to be prominent in all of this, right? So, you know, we see all this plethora of AI companies popping up now. They're now even talking about embedding the AI in the hardware, not software, in the hardware, right? So now data
Wow.
centers are, we had gotten away from data centers, but now data centers are coming back to be able to push all this data for AI, which we know going to create a situation where we need more electricity. So we got to find better ways to do it. I mean, it's a continual connected system, as you were saying, and we have to begin to focus on those kind of things. I
Right.
believe, because it's going to affect everybody, and it sets up a situation where if it's not done properly, it will create more division and more separation and more less fortunate. Um, they showed basically a 3D printer building houses out of this special concrete that could withstand certain conditions, and it's just boom, it's just 3D printing a house.
Right. Yes. Um, I like what you're saying. How Because to me, a world free from homelessness is a world that works for all.
Mm-hmm.
A world, because we know, intellectually, we know there are more than enough resources on this planet. There's more than enough food. There's more than enough
Yes.
water. There's more than enough
Yes.
shelter. There's more than enough support that no one, even those that may think they want to, that no one should be unhoused.
Not at all.
A bridge.
And with the technology.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yep. And I want to say, and I do think I see some movement in that direction. Now, how that's being handled, I'm not 100% sure. I live in Arvada, Colorado. I live in a suburb of the Denver metro area. Denver, the city of Denver has had a very visible and vocal, as many cities have, of the unhoused. We've kicked the camps around. We're trying, little house camps. We're buying hotels, and I just saw another story yesterday of the city of Denver buying. It wasn't a hotel, but it was something like that, like a resort property to provide migrant and unhoused housing, because they're getting mixed up, by the way. Those coming here looking for a better life are ending up and being lumped in as degenerate drug addicts because they're living in the streets. And back to the point I wanted to make. So I ride my bicycle on the bike trails. Bike trails traditionally go along unwanted land, along streams and rivers, other right-of-ways that can't be built upon. And this leaves a lot of room for encampment and for people to live out unhoused and out of doors. And over the last few years, I've noticed a significant decrease in the number of encampments around the areas and the trails that I ride. For a long time, there was a very, very large camp along my route that was, truthfully, is a little scary. It had a couple of blind corners on the trail. There were always people wandering on the trail. There were always people pushing carts on the trail. There were a lot of tents and things had been built right up to the trail, and you never really knew what was going to happen going through some of these areas on your bicycle. And those areas have been moved. Folks have been moved, cleaned up the areas, and at least in the cities through which I ride, the services are doing a great job of helping people out. I'll give an example. There's a place I've been riding, and a few years back, it was a pretty major encampment. Then it got cleaned out, has been empty for quite a while. Over the last few months, a couple of people have started to kind of come back into that area and set up. And yesterday when I rode by, it wasn't law enforcement. It was social services. And there were people that were truly, honestly trying to provide support and provide help. Now, the other thing that I noticed is the people that were in the encampment were walking away and ignoring the people that were trying to help. Now, whether they thought they were in law enforcement, whether they think I don't need your help, whether they've been down that road and felt abused or victimized by the help, whatever it is. But it does seem that in some ways we're making some progress, maybe small, maybe incremental, maybe not where you see it, where you live, maybe not in your city. But it does feel like we're making some headway in that regard. And I have to believe that part and parcel of that is that we've placed a focus as a country, not so much in vilifying these people, but in trying to figure out how to help them.
And I mean, as time goes on, I mean, you mentioned the buzzword there, if you will, immigration, right? So as people begin to continue to immigrate to this country and wind up in major cities, the housing demand is going to increase, right? And so how do we begin to really look at this? Because if people can't find a house, and now I mean there's a whole lot of other issues in there, right? So we're isolating here, but if people aren't in the house or don't have a safe place to live, and especially if they have children, now they get opened up to all kinds of activities and all kinds of unsafe environments that will push the envelope, if you will, in areas that we don't want to see: crime and abuse and if everyone's in even if we had a house set up for those who may need some social services of mental health or physical health or whatever, we can begin to balance that.
Yeah.
So that those who really need care and help, we can provide it to them, and there will always be the outliers, right? We know that. But if we can get a system and a compassion and an empathy based approach to this, because I mean I'll say it for myself. There have been times that I've seen people on the street asking for money or asking for help, and I make an assumption that I look at them and say, oh, that's a scam or whatever. Well, I don't know. I'm making an assumption. Either I give $1 or don't give $1, right?
It's not a good scam, to be honest, right? That's a long, hard day of being insulted for a handful of bucks. Right?
Yeah.
That's desperate.
Yeah.
I've always thought that's desperation. There are people that probably have a roof over their head and are holding up a sign that says homeless. There are people that have a car to sleep in, and there's still desperation there.
Yeah, and I was looking at Linda's.
Whoops.
I worked and lived in Houston for about 10 years, and it was a pretty good homeless situation going on. And I haven't lived there or worked there in about 5 years now, so it would be interesting to go back and see what it looked like, because if just think of opportunities in all situations. People can get jobs, people can be safe, construction companies, and I mean that's the beauty of a system. When a system works, there are many parts in it that are working. And one of the things that we're looking at is new thought, right? Is how do we begin to envision, to create, and to activate whole systems that work together, that allow many different aspects of the community, of the political system, of the social system, to work together to elevate the living standards, the living situation, the justice, the equity of everybody.
Yeah.
We have that opportunity we have the know-how. We have to take, like they in this movie, they had this one young man. He was in LA. He was like the lead character, if you will. But this young man has 3 engineering degrees. He's got a civil, mechanical, and electrical engineering degree, and his job in LA is how to build a city for the future. Now he's pulling on 3 really good systems there, engineering systems, to come together.
Yeah. Yep. Our friend Linda suggests that we bring the senior minister of Unity of Houston on the program, who happens to be a friend and somebody we both shared some time at ministerial school with, Reverend Dr. Michael Gott, and I think that's a great idea. I think he would be better fit to our long conversation program, New Thought Today, but it's refreshing to hear the successes, and I think that we need to hear them more to inspire others to do the same, to do similar work.
Yeah.
You know, when I was a kid, I always thought
and quite frankly, I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, I mean, those are the kind of things that spiritual centers, churches, synagogues, mosques, temples, these are the kind of things that we should be taking on, of how to make society better and not squabbling over 1,000-year-old texts.
I was going to say,
that's my opinion.
When I was a kid, when I was a kid, there was that warning: be careful, get a good education, get a good job, or you're going to end up living under a bridge. And I always thought to myself, that shit don't happen. What kind of threat is that? That shit don't happen. But unfortunately, in America, we have a large number of people literally living under the bridge. A month ago or so, a campfire by some unhoused folks got out of hand, and we had to close down 2 major interstates because the fire under the bridge ended up on top of the bridge. And to me, that's the bigger crime than anything. But we celebrate, right? We celebrate the conviction of a con man while turning a blind eye to the people who most need our support. And I think that's the headline of the weekend. We celebrate the conviction of a petty con man while we turn a blind eye to those that really need our support and our help.
Yeah. And the question is, and still remains, when are we gonna wake up and focus on things that matter? Right. As the saying goes, we should never let the things that matter most suffer because of the things that matter less.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Is that you, or did you borrow that?
Trump's gonna. I don't know where I got it from. Whoever said it, and I took it. God bless you, and I give you credit in the ethers. But that is, my friend used to always say, we have to stop majoring in the minor. Right. And right now, we're going to start majoring in the minor. We're going to look at all these minor details and all these little minor things about the conviction and the election, as opposed to saying, what are the real issues that we're facing? Some might say it's the economy. Some might say it's housing and social services, or prison reform, or gun reform. But those are major issues. Women's health rights. Those are major issues that we should be focusing on and debating and trying to come up with solution, as opposed to saying, do we try Trump on the other 3 cases, or do we let those go? Okay, yeah, they have some meaning, but not as much meaning as women's health rights.
Exactly.
Not as much meaning as how homelessness.
Yep.
We have to put our priorities in order.
And that's a whole nother program. But I agree with you.
Yes, you do.
And I do agree with you. We do need to do that. So, however, folks, we've just about run out of time here this morning. on this conversation and on this program. However, we'll be back again next Friday with more. And hey, please do check out our long form program. Rev Z and I get together every Tuesday at 2:00 Mountain Time for New Thought Today, where we can take an even deeper dive and often have guests to support us in taking a deeper dive into how this mighty philosophy, how this amazing philosophy of New Thought can take us into, can solve these ills, can solve these concerns. If you're in the Houston area, drop into Unity of Houston and let Reverend Michael Gott and his team know that you love what you're seeing, what they're doing, So it's good. We're doing somehow good work happening.
Yeah. And thanks, Linda, for that, man. I'll have to reach out to Reverend Michael. We actually graduated together, 2 different campuses, but the same year. So yeah, I'll have to. I've been to his center. I've been to the center before he was the senior minister, and after he's been the senior minister. So I'll definitely. We should definitely try to get him on to go down that path of what they're doing and how it can be duplicated across the country.
Exactly. I want to say thank you to Maria. Love you both so much. Cannot even stand to listen to the news. I understand that. So thank you for Maria for tuning in, for being a part of what we're doing here on the New Thought Media Network. Folks, please do share, like, and subscribe. Let your friends and family know what we're doing. We're going to get out of here for now, but we'll be back again next Friday and throughout the week. Please stay tuned for our regular programming today. It's a full lineup, and we'll be back later. The good news is at 5 tonight, so be sure to check that out as well. Until next time, we want to wish you peace and richest blessings. Bye now.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.